So this year was awkward for me because I was flat broke for pretty much all of it, aside from a couple lingering gift cards that were specifically for local theaters, which is how I watched all 120 movies or so that I did this year with no fucking job. Other than Stellar Blade, I still managed to play pretty much every game that I was intending to play this year, which to be honest was not that extensive of a list. I complained last year, perhaps undeservedly, about the lack of game and film star power, but I think it was more or less a normal year. I think 2022 was just a huge anomaly for having shit like Elden Ring, Ragnarok, Case of the Golden Idol, Teenage Exocolonist, and about like 20 god-tier movies. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think Immortality might be my current favorite all-time video game. I'm very much a person who adapts my opinions of stuff to like how I feel about them over a period of time, over a long time, and in the current moment. So when I kind of get everything that there is to enjoy from something, a year and a half later, I won't really care that much about it anymore, and I can't bring myself to feel positively towards it. And things that still make me happy, when I continue to think about them, I like them even more over a long period of time. Immortality is basically just like a extra long, non-linear movie, so it makes sense why it appeals to me so specifically in that way, because I feel like it's less limited in the way that most video games are to appreciating them over time. Anyways, 2024. I don't really have it in me to care about 10 games this year, let alone 20, so I'll have a top 10 with extended honorable mentions. By the way, Hades 2 does not count until its official 1.0 release, I have decided. And things that only have small sections that weren't presented as full products don't count. So early access, episodic game updates, itch.io, and Patreon stuff, which I sometimes include here. I will count full, like, extensive DLCs like Shadow of Erdtree and Road to Elysium, but I don't think those are on my list. The funny thing is, there's a lot of stuff that almost came out in 2024 that's going to hit like early January, maybe February 2025, that I was eagerly awaiting and probably would have had on this list. White Wool and Snow is the big one. White Wool and Snow is the absolute, it probably would have been top 3, top 5, I'm almost certain. The next Vagrant update, the next Eternum update, other games that you should not look up if you're under 21. This list would probably look different if White Wool and Snow and, I don't know, fucking Race of Life got their official releases before New Year's. Honorable mentions to start with. A lot of games this year. They have things that I maybe liked about them or were a good value, like undeniably a good value proposition, but I do not have an overall high enough artistic opinion of them to put them on this list proper. To start with, hey, asshole, I heard you said that Metaphor was your most anticipated game of the year, and it turns out you don't even really like it that much. What's up with that shit? So, yeah, Metaphor was kind of everything that I was worried it might be in the script department. All of the worst lessons that they learned from making Persona 5, the corny over-dramatization of everything, the beating you over the fucking head with every narrative element, the bad over-expository dialogue, etc. I said that I'm a person who is very susceptible to, like, long-term attitude adjustments. Metaphor, I liked some of it when I played, and over time I've only liked it less and less. I tried to replay it, and I just can't get into it again. I try to watch streamers play it, and 95% of the runtime is fucking boring. And even the few eventful moments in the plot are just done in by their fucking cheesiness. The game has fun gameplay, although halfway through the game when I realized that, like, you really don't have to switch classes ever, and that you could just give every character the same overpowered skills from all of the convenient, easily accessible classes like Wizard or whatever, I realized that there's probably some fun game-breaking elements that you can do with skill retention, but also the gameplay and even the RPG mechanics felt much more simplified from that point on. And I really basically like nothing about the writing of this game. Almost nothing. I like, I don't know, Luis's voice acting and the line delivery. His line delivery, I guess. I think his motives and rationale are stupid as fuck. I think the story is painfully simplistic and corny in its storybook ideals for its own good. I basically don't care about anything that happens in it. Half of it is dumb. I'm sorry, but I'm just not enough of an anime fan to be into this shit. Get me off the anime train. I got it. I'm good. I've had enough anime. Also, this game fucking blew up my PS5, and I have not and will not forget that. At one point, I had Lorelei and the Laser Eyes on my top 10 list, like a couple months ago. I removed it after my feelings turned more negative over time, like I've been talking about, and I played the game a second time with Tiny Leaf, and I fucking despised having to go through it all again. See, this one hurts me. It has such cool shit. It's got a lot of cool shit. Really, really cool shit in it. And, like, baller moments of discovery. But it becomes such a tedious fucking chore every time. And the resolution of the plot threads is underwhelming and lame. I feel offended by it. The line, of course there's no such thing as Laser Eyes, haunts me with how fucking lame it is. But also the game is aesthetically cool, doing like the bug test for the first time, anytime you're deep in experiencing the fucking weird magic Italians, all that stuff is so good though. It's a tough break. With some trimming the gameplay and changing, especially the ending, from being so goddamn reductive, it could have so easily been all killer, no filler. Shadow of the Erdtree is complicated for me. I like some of the small dungeon levels, but overall I don't like most of the enemies, or zones, or bosses. I like Promise Consort Radahn, and I might like some of the others if I were really pushed to learn them thoroughly, or maybe not, I don't know. But I've also played enough Elden Ring at this point, including the DLC. I've beaten the game like 10 times for 10 playthroughs, and I did this DLC once, and I don't have the motivation to do any more of it anymore. I also, like, unlike the base game, I don't like the exploration or the collection of stuff in this. In the base game, like, the world map and everything is the best part. I said as much in my review way back when, but in this, it sucks. I didn't want to mess with my build too much when trying to beat everything for the first time, I changed a couple things here and there, but I didn't really use that much of what I found in the DLC, the new weapons and whatnot. Because I wasn't trying to, like, reinvent the wheel when I'm still trying to focus on beating the bosses. The overworld exploration is frustrating because the map is vertical as hell, so there's often no comprehensive way to figure out how to access an area that you can't see how to access. The areas are fucking massive and empty and take forever to run around in to make sure I don't miss anything. Just walking around, running around, riding the horse around for fucking ages of empty nothingness. If you don't know this about me, I absolutely despise having to walk around without doing anything for long stretches of time. Relatively speaking, I was a Breath of the Wild hater because I hate any time spent just running around running in a straight line, waiting for my character to get to the thing that I am approaching. I hate the time sink of mindless transportation. It hurts me. The DLC is also clunkier than the base game by a wide margin. I got stuck in objects, I fell through the world, I met with whack hitbox interactions way more often than usual, so I didn't strongly like very much in it. If the bosses were tankier and thus required more actual learning instead of just, like, face fucking them with DPS and the staggers while avoiding enough sequential hits that you don't get one-shot ass blasted, maybe I would enjoy the bosses more than basically not at all. So, close to being on my list for just pure content value and the small number of fun elements that I got out of it, but no. Other games that I like this year that were kind of cool: Felvedek, Love Sucks, Benefit Ship. I apologize that many of these are just random fetish porn. That's just what came out this year. Animal Well, Crow Country. For the record, still to this day, I can never remember if the title of this game is Crow Country or Crow County. Apparently it's Country. Ender Lilies. Best FPS of this year, obviously, was 420 Blaze It 2 Game of the Year, Dank Dreams and Goated Memes, hashtag WoW/11 like and subscribe Poggers Edition. Duh. I really liked Paper Lily, a really excellent RPG Maker entry, great presentation, and like this insane level of optional secret content, but it is also a chapter thing. There's so many fucking chapter things this year. Everything that I'm inclined to talk about was just chapters of something incomplete, including all the shit that was supposed to be coming out. Paper Lily, Love Sucks, Vagrant, Eternum, Being a Dick, Misericord, even the fucking Eden's Garden Chapter 1 thing that came out that I still have to write my review for. And then there's DLC, like Peanut, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Road to Elysium. But yeah, Paper Lily, really good. Animal Well is really good. Animal Well is right on the cusp to make my official list. I don't know, it's not that set in stone. It could totally be on my list. I could kick off fucking Yakuza 8 or something. But it's only like a 5-hour game. I don't really think about it since I beat it months ago. Mouthwashing, also super good, also on the cusp of my official list. Better, but even shorter. It's kind of weird to see the internet up in a storm about a game just because it's like really well written and compact and thematically resonant. I think the fact that it's short enough to be streamed in one sitting probably contributes to its popularity online, but still, it's like weird. They don't put this fucking energy into immortality. And again, it'd be on my list. I'd put it on my full list if not for how short it is. I know that's never stopped me before, but I remember I put fucking Perfect Vermin in my top 5 in 2020 like a fucking psychopath, which was a 20-minute game if you were being extremely generous. I'm trying to be more reasonable about that kind of thing and look at overall value. Just know that all these games, Paper Lily, Mouthwashing, Animal Well, 420 Blaze It Game of the Year, Dank Dreams and Goated Memes, hashtag WoW/11 like and subscribe Poggers Edition, all of them I like and feel more positive emotion towards than at least the first couple entries on my actual top 10. I mean, my actual Game of the Year is obviously Street Fighter 6. I think I put 2,000 hours, I think. That's what Steam counts at. From the top of the year, 2,000 hours into SF6. If my thoughts on year one of the game were documented in a couple review type videos that I put out, where I said that I think the design elements make the game boring to play and boring to lab and boring to watch, all factors that feed back into each other, I've updated my perspective a bit. This year, I found ways of thinking about and studying the game to make it fun to lab, which in turn makes it more fun to watch as I have a more educated opinion of everything that I'm watching. I still think the game design is fucking whack. The damage output, the neutral skipping, the way drive gauge and burnout are designed, the corner guessing, the ease of jump outs and other side switches, the short stage length, the character homogeny in the universal mechanics, all of that is still bad, and compared to the first year, the amount of compelling content outside of just playing more matches has really waned a lot, and also the CPT format sucks. But big question, do I actually enjoy playing the game and fighting people in it now? Sometimes, I guess. I haven't been able to do anything in a bracket setting. I've not been able to travel or do competitions. I don't have any locals, so I'm missing the fun of competition with stakes. I found ways to analyze the game that are interesting to me, but I am also well aware that I am focusing on relatively small minutia compared to the much larger factors of guessing, reacting, and mental stack. I feel like I would be more frustrated if I played against people that are better than me more often, because when I do, when I do play people who are clearly better than me, it's clear that strategy, optimization, and decision-making are very small factors compared to their overwhelming reactions and mental stack and the oppression of guessing. But yeah, I put literally thousands of hours into SF6 this year, and I felt satisfied with my work. It is obviously my game of the year. Okay, official list starting now. I just realized I somehow forgot to mention Death of the Reprobate, which also almost got my top 10, but it's also very short. Number 10, Black Myth Wukong. It's going to be a few entries before we get into the games that I think are actually really great. Black Myth Wukong is fine. It's clunkier and less polished than I expected for its development cycle and its prestige. As an action game, it's alright. It's fun enough. It has an okay mix between, like, simple precision and, like, blunt combo-based, resource-based stuff. I think it's a bit more fun to play combat-wise than Shadow of the Erdtree is, but where Wukong really loses me is in its environments. Again, just like Erdtree, you spend 10, 15, 20 minutes running around needlessly gigantic, painfully empty areas, and the pure time sink of just walking around or hitting random mobs that are of no real threat or complexity in these giant empty areas just bores me to tears. The game is overall not as good as Lies of P in almost any sense. I like the comic storyboarding stuff at the end of chapters. I like some aspects of the narrative and the overall aesthetics. It's just really painfully time-consuming. It's like the fucking open levels and stuff that makes me feel really meh towards this title. This is my highly scientific way of thinking about this. So, I generally would, like, split it. I think there's, like, five categories that I would place games, or rather scenarios within games, into these, like, Souls-like or character action game type stuff. Even the 2D ones, the Hollow Knights and etc., where the first section is like, I'm gonna say green. The first section is like so easy that I slept. So, like, mind-numbingly, boringly, nonchalant, whatever, and unengaging, that it sucks, okay? Then you have, like, this, which is this category, which is where most stuff fits into, which is where I feel like I'm not bored, but I feel absolutely nothing. Okay? So this is the meh. Whatever. My eyeballs are actively engaged. It's fine. It's fucking fine, okay? Then we have this, which is, like, hard enough that it's annoying me. Like, it's like they're beating me up and whatever. I, like, died a couple times, and I'm like, grrr, I'm salty, whatever, okay? And that I consider a negative state. Then we have... But this third section is not, like, what I would consider a satisfying challenge. It's just, like, I don't know. It doesn't really require any more effort of me. I don't have to really focus, try very hard. I'll just do, like, run, like, fucking 3, 4, 5 attempts, and it'll solve itself out without any real level of commitment from myself. It just is time wasting and kind of annoying. Then we have this, which is challenging enough that challenging enough that I actually have to, like, put some effort into, and I'm probably salty in the middle of it, but then after the end I was like, you know what? I put some effort into it. I overcame. I feel satisfied with that. That is perfectly fine. I feel good about that, retroactively speaking. And then we have, like, this section, which is, like, even if you put a maximum amount of effort into, it is actively unfair. I do not put most things into. And in fact, this is like not really a true linear scale. Obviously, there are elements that can be unfair, like minutia that is unfair or at least unbalanced in a way. Like a boss, let's say you're fighting let's say this is just in terms of a single boss fight. So a boss fight can like have RNG that determines whether he picks one of 3 attack cycles or whatever, and one of the attack cycles is just patently harder to deal with than the others. So it's not like unfair in the sense that you can't do it, it's just a little unbalanced in that RNG can make your experience significantly harder regardless of how you play or how much effort you put into it. But whatever, that's not really what the point of this is that most of my experiences in games hit the meh cycle, and then if something is hard, most games that people consider hard, this is why I don't really like the Souls like most games that come out of it these days, etc., is because, and it's not just to do with this scale, but this is my experience. This is the scale of like my experience playing these games. So, for instance, I didn't like the Elden Ring DLC because most of the time I'm feeling meh or grr, and the only time I was like, oh, was fighting Consort Radahn. And there was no other point where I was like, oh, all the rest of the time I was like, fuck off. Like, I'll just run it a couple more times and it'll eventually die. Fuck you. And it wasn't satisfying to beat any of it. The only thing that I actually had to put effort into was Radahn. And so, in that sense, more of the Elden Ring DLC was grr than meh. If we're talking about something like Black Myth Wukong, more of it is meh than grr. Some of it is some of it is fine. I liked, this is the ironic part, because I liked, because of this, like, scale of my emotions, I like, fighting, for example, the 100-Eyed Taoist. I know the name of that boss because lots of people complain about it, and lots of people who like the game consider it one of the worst bosses in the game or whatever. It's kind of unfair, you know, it's more unfair, but in that sense, I don't know, it required more effort from me than anything else in the fucking game up to that point, so I kind of enjoyed it after... it was the only thing that made me feel any sense of accomplishment in the whole fucking game. So that was like one of the few things where I was like, oh, the rest of it, it's just like, I don't know. Anything that kills me, I'll just fight it 1 or 2 more times and it'll fucking die. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything for me. So most of it was meh, some of it was grr. But more of it was meh to me because the game is significantly easier than some other Soulsborne. Most of it was meh, totally placid, not at all frustrating. Where, for instance, the Elden Ring DLC, way more of it is grr. A lot of it is meh, but way more of it is grr. And other than that, they're basically identical in that neither one is designed or has proper structures in a way that I consider meaningfully satisfying. But because I was less frustrated playing Black Myth Wukong, less annoyed by the minutia of time wasting and just dumb shit, then that's why it's on my list, and Shadow of the Erdtree is not. Number 9, Subverse. If I had played Stellar Blade or Stalker 2 or whatever, those would probably be here instead. I mean, it is what it is. I think I kind of made peace with this game a long time ago, and it's hard to... Like, I had played everything up to the final 1.0 update, and it's mostly, I perceive it as just being an hour more's worth of hot alien animated tentacle porn or whatever. And it's pretty great hot alien animated tentacle porn or whatever. The funny thing about this game is that while playing it, I kind of think to myself, like, I knew people in middle school and high school who thought that Borderlands was the funniest fucking shit on the face of the planet, and they were massive losers. But then I'm thinking, wait, the people who made this game are bad bitches that slay, so I am literally the loser here. It's weird. I mean, no one is interested in a serious critique of the plot structure or anything like that. I like the main villain. I like most of the supporting cast. I think only the captain and other non-playable major characters get fleshed out in a complete, well-executed way on rare occasions. The party members kind of get stuck being part of this formless group that even as a collective doesn't have very much agency. But, I've seen... It's not really surprising, but it just is what it is. A lot of my old complaints about the Pandora system are still there, but they added a bunch of endgame lengthy animated erotic scenes for every party member, and those are pretty much the point of the game at this point. There are actually worse plots that are less fun to follow, shockingly enough. I didn't hate going through the main story again. The gameplay just kind of exists. The humor is often grating, or at least you become numb to it. It is what it is. It's still very grindier than it should be, considering the fact that the gameplay is almost never fun or interesting. It's just a pastime at best. But overall, Subverse doesn't have that much that I actively dislike, and has some stuff that I like, and some stuff that I like a lot. Make no mistake, I am only putting this on this list because of its sexual content. As a weird interloper into, the eroge space, and as a sex-positive liberal twerp. It's kind of hard to explain to someone that doesn't understand, some people, why I would consider, quality sexual content to be as worthwhile as, say, a story-focused game would have quality narrative content. But this 1.0 version of Subverse probably does have some of the highest quality erotic content that I've seen from an eroge in a long time. Everything else in the game is either decent, meh, or cringe. Number 8. Yakuza 8, Infinite Wealth. Yeah, even though we're on the official list, I can't say these games, I really entirely love them yet. In fact, half of the games in my top 10, I would still consider to be disappointments from what I was hoping that they would be going into them. Yakuza 8 was a disappointment to me. The gameplay is fun enough, I guess. The story just doesn't have the same bite to it that 7 or even fucking 6 did. The game is about finding Ichiban's mom, and I literally can barely remember his mom as a character. She's in the game. You meet her and stuff, she's in the game. She's just so nothing, and the story does nothing with her or Ichi of any impact. Kiryu is great in this as a party member. He is the highlight of the narrative for sure. I said this before, but I don't like the oversimplification of Ichiban, where now they just treat him like himbo Yakuza Jesus. It's boring, it's annoying, it makes him a really flat character in this game because he has one personality trait, which is just to do good and be heroic. Am I supposed to be talking about why I like the games that are in my top 10? I don't know, the game overall is good value for your money, it's got tons of content, gameplay is alright, Kiryu's pretty great, okay, bye, it's good enough. Number 7, Class of 09 The Flip Side. I probably land somewhere in the middle with this game. It's definitely, again, as everything was this year, a disappointment. Definitely a step down from the re-up. Clear downgrade. But I don't think clear downgrade is necessarily the same thing as being actively bad, like some people treat it as. A lot of people treat it as. I was more disappointed right immediately after playing this, but going back to it, I like it more. It helps to go back once I know what parts of it are funny and good and what parts of it are boring and bad, and kind of filter them mentally or actively accordingly. Some people just have personal issues with the subject matter, which is not what's at issue for me. It's just short, it doesn't really have the time or space to develop itself and have those great, aside moments. It only has 5 routes and 1 or 2 of them fucking suck. Still, I think people don't know how to interpret disappointment or nuance, and also, edge comedy only works if it's funny, obviously. So once it fails to meet the base threshold of you finding it funny, edge comedy will become off-putting really, really quickly if it's not funny. Still, most of the game, I think, is genuinely funny, and I'm glad to have gotten the good scenes from it that we do get from it, so here it is. Number 6, Murders in the Yangtze River. No concessions necessary for this one. Well, not exactly. This game is definitely the biggest surprise darling for me. I've seen no one talk about this game at all. No one talks about it. No one played it. This shit is the best Ace Attorney game I have played in years. It's not 100% God tier. It has, like, it's a little rough. It kind of has to build up to its excellence the first 2 chapters or whatever, but it just gets better and better, and it's just so... It has so much in it that is so impressive. It shows you interesting ways to engage the genre that we haven't seen. It keeps impressing me, even when you think that they've done the coolest and the most creative or the most innovative thing that they're gonna do with the game and the genre. Murders in the Yangtze River is just a rough little package of every direction that I want the murder mystery genre to go into in games. It is so fucking good. Number 5, Balatro. You've played this game. Don't lie to me. I don't need to explain this one to you. Fuck you. Okay. Number 4, Tekken 8. Just like every other game on this list, I prefer the game that came before it. I have not played it enough. I mean to play it more. I just never find the time for it when I'm usually prioritizing SF6 and other stuff and other projects. But yeah, I like Tekken. It's a bit similar to SF6 in that it's more brutish and simplistic in execution than the prior Tekken. And for that reason, it's hard to care about watching it competitively unless you're deep into the nuances of that brutishness, which I am not yet. Number 3, FF7 Rebirth. In a sea of tough material decisions I had to make, like, oh, Balatro is fun and all, but is it comparable to a fucking 60-hour RPG AAA production? FF7 Rebirth is the most tenuous for its high placement here. This game has plenty of problems, just like Remake did. Different problems from Remake. Some things got better than Remake. New problems arose that Remake didn't have. It's a weird package. But overall, I like the combat. When you play on hard mode, you can skip all the dumb bullshit side quests and all the shitty minigames that aren't Queen's Blood. Just go straight for boss rushing the main story with optimized gear, and it's a fun time that way. Shockingly, every single playable character is fun to play in their own way, and there's like this infinite landscape of niche ways to break the game that are actually fun to theorycraft and do. The story is still a joke. I desperately want to bully anyone who takes this remake storytelling seriously. I want to shove them in lockers so badly. I really do. Yuffie is hot and cute, and it tempers my anger towards the bumbling cynicism of this dumbass trilogy by the fact that she's caught in 4K all the time. But some of this is hard for me because I am very much, again, a creature of my current feelings. It's hard for me to put myself into prior experiences, so, for instance, my current feelings on Balatro are a bit muddled because I already played everything that I wanted to in the game back when it came out. I'm not really motivated to keep playing it right now, and I can't easily recall the feeling of enjoyment that I had of learning it or overcoming the challenges in the first place, unlocking all the stuff for the first time, seeing what options there were. In terms of overall value per dollar, I got the most hours out of Balatro, FF7 Rebirth, Yakuza 8, and Metaphor, and not including SF6. Obviously. Rebirth is the only game out of those that I probably enjoyed less in the middle and more near the end of my playtime and retroactively. Rebirth is really fucking painful in the middle because of how boring and bad most of the open world content is, all the side content, and all of the like 4,000 mediocre mini games that they make you play. But at the end, you just get to use all the materia, and some of the more interesting materia, for instance, like Skill Master or ATB Assist, like one of those two or something around there that you get relatively early on in Remake that makes the game way more fun, you only get basically at the end of Rebirth, which means that the fun of the game is limited until you get the materia that actually makes it more interesting at the end of the game. But yeah, you get to use all the materia, you make cool builds and team compositions, and you get to do hard mode, which is basically just boss rushing the main story. Rebirth has gameplay systems that get more fun the more time you put into them, and it doesn't have a great assortment of combat encounters necessarily to use that fun gameplay against, but it at least has, like, composition, depth, and stuff. Number 2, Rise of the Golden Idol. Can you believe that we had to get all the way up to top 2 to reach games that are only good with no drawbacks, nothing holding them back? I'm telling you, the world would be a very different place if White Wool and Snow came out and I could put that in 3rd place instead. Rise of the Golden Idol is baller. I only have the most anal nitpicks of it, like the fact that I miss the bigger and more sprawling, expansive mysteries of the first game, or the fact that I miss the context that every piece of the plot in the first game was based around a separate mysterious death/murder/whatever, whereas this game just sometimes has no one dead at all. You're just investigating shit for basically no reason. But yeah, this game lives up to my expectations of it. The mystery solving is tight and consistent. The story eventually gets to some interesting places. In the middle, we were not feeling the story, and overall, I think the story of the first game is better. But it eventually gets to some interesting places. Tiny and I played it together, and we were losing our shit going into the final level. Fucking pile ball forever, okay? Can't wait for the DLC chapters. That goes for Murders in the Yangtze River 2, which is going to have a DLC case at some point. I thought it was going to come out this year, but apparently not. I can't say that Rise of the Golden Idol is better than the original. It's hard to compete with that pure, classic plot structure that it had, and the expanse of cases was just so satisfying to solve and uncover. But yeah, this game, it's so good. And even though I would have liked longer individual cases, the game as a whole is very meaty. Number 1, 1000X Resist. This is the only game this year that is just flat out fantastic with basically no caveats. Let's be clear, I do not worship this game to the same degree as the communities that I first heard about it from. I have some criticisms of it here and there. I don't think it's perfect. But this game is the clear standout game of the year for its sheer level of excellence. Nothing else brings this much goodness straight to your veins. Good dialogue, good scenario, it's made by fucking theater nerds, and it cures the evil incarnate that's within the heart of anime. It has weird, offbeat, bizarro mystery sci-fi that's still made by people that understand emotional impact, unlike a lot of stuff in this genre. It has tons of stuff that you can just linger in and grow this kind of fondness for. I genuinely cannot fathom how this was not in any Game Awards nominees. It's not like no one played it, like with case of the Chinese Ace Attorney, where no one played that. I heard about this game through word of mouth. I'm not even on social media anymore. I heard about this through word of mouth. Anyways, baller game. Hecky validation. Why don't you hecky almost get some bitches? Doing my time in a pressed white collar. I was sipping my juice from a box when I saw her. Looking out the bars of detention, paying no attention. I forget the rest. Anyways, why don't you magically play some fucking video games, bitch? I bet you can't even fucking pile ball. You goddamn disgrace. Anyways, I must slink back into my cavern and wait for the elusive Misericord chapter, which for all I know won't be coming out for fucking months. Since I've been stalking the goddamn dev online and I've seen zero movement on the front of a release date. Anyways, can't wait for the autumnal wonderland that will be 2025. That's about it. See ya.